I think that if there's anything that we learned from that Fulham game, it is how important it is that we find the right replacement for Casemiro. I cannot stress this enough. It is so important that we bring in the right person to replace Casemiro. We cannot go through that long spell before Casemiro came in, where we just allow seasons and seasons to go by and we don't get a proper DM. Since Carrick, we haven't had a proper DM at the club, always signing these like filler players and everything that we knew couldn't necessarily do the job and everything. The closest that we've come is Casemiro. We signed Matic as well, who did a good job, but the closest that we've come is Casemiro. But Casemiro was not even the ideal age. Casemiro was what 30 when we signed him and everything. Obviously, coming from Real Madrid, obviously a quality player and everything, but I've signed so many filler players in the past. But thankfully, we've signed Casemiro, and Casemiro has shown his quality for season after season after season. He went through that whole spell, leave the football before the football leaves you. Just a difficult period at Manchester United where people were even doubting his overall quality. People were even doubting how good he was at Real Madrid. If he was even that good at Real Madrid, or if he was just being covered by the quality of Kroos and Casemiro. Like Casemiro has gone through difficult periods at Manchester United, but he has overcome. He has shown that mentality to kind of like overcome all of that. Like, Casemiro has that mentality. Casemiro has that dog in him. Casemiro is that guy, honestly. If we're just being so real with ourselves, Casemiro is that guy, and he has brought that mentality to Manchester United. Because when you have that kind of like mentality, that winning mentality, that I'm on top mentality, like, it's kind of infectious, right? Like, it just spreads around the team. Like, it goes to the players around you, whether it's the players behind, the players in front, the players next to you. Like, it just goes everywhere. Like, it's infectious. And I feel like Casemiro right now is just like infecting everybody with that winning mentality, just infecting everybody with that, like, yes, we are on top, yes, we are a big team, yes, we can do this kind of thing. Casemiro is a leader in that squad, and not only just a leader, not just, oh, he's a leader, but he's not that good. He's a leader and he is that good. He's a leader and he's showing us his quality. He's a leader and he's perfect for us in that midfield. Casemiro effectively has shown us the blueprint for what we need in that midfield. And I feel like when we're getting a replacement for him, we just have to boom, boom, copy and paste, sign somebody that is just like Casemiro, like, as close to Casemiro as it comes. Like, we cannot sign a filler player. We cannot sign somebody that for the sake of it. We cannot sign somebody just say, oh, Casemiro left and we signed somebody. It has to be the right person. The reason why I'm stressing this so much because I know my club. I know my club. I know how we are. We're gonna sign one filler player. Fans might get excited because we're like, oh yeah, we replace Casemiro and everything. Is this the right person? Does he fit the profile? Does he complement Mino? Because Mino is going to be in the plans for years to come. This isn't the Amorim regime anymore. Mino is going to be in those plans for years to come. Any manager that comes in right now, whether Carrick stays or whether someone replaces him, I feel like they just have to see the quality in Mino. I feel like we cannot go through this stretch of games that we've gone through, watching Mino play the way he's playing and think that, oh, he's actually just not that good. Like, it is not possible. And we know that Casemiro complements Mino perfectly. We know that Casemiro is one of the reasons why Mino is able to express himself the way that he's doing, right? So we just know that we need to replace Casemiro well. We know that we need to replace him well so that Mino can continue to do his thing, right? And we need to sign the right person. Again, I cannot stress that enough. There are a lot of names circulating and everything. There's a lot of names being like rumored to be linked with the Manchester United job, just as per usual. Like every time the position is open at Manchester United, a lot of names are circled around and everything. So we're going to talk about some of those names today. But before we do that, let's talk about Casemiro himself. Let's talk about the guy himself. Let's talk about what he brings to this Manchester United team, what that blueprint actually looks like, right? And Casemiro, we know the type of player that he is. Like, he has that aggression, he has that ball winning ability, his tackling is top class and everything. Like, we know the type of player that he is. He's a destroyer, but don't be deceived. Casemiro also has that flair. He has that Brazilian flair as well. And the way he has been showing that since he announced that he's leaving Manchester United is actually crazy. Like, the guy just be doing shit for fun nowadays. Like, he's showing us that he's an all-action midfielder. Like, he's not limited to just his defensive capabilities. And, as a Real Madrid fan, as someone that has watched Real Madrid for years and years and years, I can tell you that this isn't the first time that Casemiro is showing us this is quality, especially like, his quality going forward, especially like, his quality from like set pieces, crosses and stuff like that, his threat from all these situations. Like, this isn't the first time that he's showing us that he can be like a goal threat. This is not the first time they're showing us that he has that flair. Because when Ronaldo left, there was a time where like Real Madrid players just had to like fish goals out of the heart because we don't have that like clear goal scorer anymore. Like, I think that since that Ramos scored like 11 goals, like stuff like that. Like, everybody in the team had to chip in with goals because we had to replace like how many goals a season? Like 40 something goals, 50 something goals a season. So everybody had to chip in with goals. And Casemiro was one of the people chipping in with goals. Casemiro was one of the people effectively chipping in with goals from, like, set pieces, from his shots, from whatever it is. And Casemiro has always had that shot on him. We saw it against Napoli in the Champions League. I think was it the 16-17 season? I can't remember. We saw it against Juve as well in the final. That was definitely 16-17 season. And yeah, Casemiro has always just had that quality, right? He has that all-round quality. Casemiro has always kind of been an all-action midfielder. The problem with that is that, like, he was at Real Madrid, so his job was just win the ball and pass it to the better players, which he doesn't mind doing. But right now that is at Manchester United, and we don't necessarily have that same exact quality that they had at Real Madrid. Has been able to show us that he's that all action midfielder. He's able to show us that he can do it all. Like, he can win the ball, pass it to the better players on the ball, but he has that quality himself on the ball. Like, he's a good passer. He's good at getting forward, joining the attack and everything. He can give that final ball as well. Like, look at that ball for Konya. Like, oh my days. Like, no look. Like, are you being for real? Like, are you actually being for real? No look. Like, I saw this guy's actually just been on that bullshit since he announced his leaving, bro. He has just been on that bullshit. If you watch that game, you just see the guy doing some flicks and tricks. Like, he has always done that, but I just feel like since he announced that he's leaving, he has just been on that bullshit. And fair enough, bro. The guy is giving us that farewell tour. As long as he leads us qualify for the top four, I don't mind, bro. Like, do your thing, enjoy yourself, enjoy your football. I don't mind. Give us that sample, bro. Me, I'm enjoying watching it. I hope everybody else is enjoying watching it. I know everybody else is enjoying watching it because the hype has not stopped. And Casemiro has just been perfect. Casemiro brings so many qualities. Casemiro has that blueprint, right? So when we're signing somebody to replace him, like, I feel like we just have to look at that blueprint. I feel like we have to look at some of those qualities and just screen them. Like, just check the boxes. Like, do you fit this? Do you fit this? Do you fit that? Because it is important that they fit as many of these qualities as possible because, like I said, he has shown that he's perfect. He has shown us the blueprint. And when you have the blueprint, for you to now go and sign somebody that doesn't fit that description at all or even close to that description is like, what are you guys doing? Because we gave you the blueprint. This isn't like before where we're thinking, oh, who do we sign? We don't know who to sign. We don't know what kind of midfielder to bring in. Right? Like, this isn't like before. Now we know. Now we know what works. Now we know what works next to Manu. Now we know what works in this Manchester United team. There's some qualities that you just can't replace with Casemiro, right? Like, there's some things that he brings to this team that you cannot replace. That winning mentality. Not that you can't replace it because, there's other guys with winning mentality, but the fact that he has actually done, the fact that, he has been here, done that, the fact that he has won how many Champions League titles with Real Madrid, coming from Real Madrid, that mentality that you get from playing for Real Madrid and winning, actually being like a winner, like, you can't replace that. Like, you can try your best to bring in all these guys with so-called mentality and everything, and they do have that mentality, but you just can't replace that. So there's some qualities, intangible qualities that he brings to the team that unfortunately, like, you just can't replace unless you can sign somebody around his age who has achieved nearly as much as him, which there are not many and everything. But except you do something like that, then you can't replace those intangible qualities. But at the end of the day, we're looking for somebody, just younger, something like 24, 25, maybe even 26, something like that, but like someone younger, but that fits the description of Casemiro, his physical qualities. We already know that we can't replace his intangible qualities, but can we replace those tangible qualities? Can we replace some of those things that he brings? And we are looking at that list of things that he brings, like, Casemiro is a good passer of the ball, very good passer of the ball. They have shown that since he came to Manchester United how good of a passer he is. Like I said, sometimes he just beyond that bullshit. Like, he's a very good tackler as well. He has that aggression, he has that physical presence in midfield that we need. We haven't had that physical presence for some time. He does bring that physical presence in midfield, and he's good at joining the attack. He's a goal threat. Just stuff like that. Like, these are all the qualities that he has. Like, he has that flair. He just has a lot of things. He's moving like an all-action midfielder. Like, people thought that this guy was just a ball winner. He's an all-action midfielder, and he's showing us how much of an all-action midfielder he is. He's showing us that he can bring all these things. So yes, like I said, when you're screening all these guys, you have to think how much of these qualities can they bring to Manchester United. Do they check these boxes, right? So right now, we're going to go over some of the names that have been mentioned. Like I said, in Manchester United, when these type of positions are open, they're always going to be linked with like how many players, like hundreds of players. I'll go to limit it to 5 players right now. I have 3 who have been majorly linked with the role. I feel like Emeka, I said that, like, you guys already know who I'm talking about. Then I have one who has been linked with the role in the past, but like, it has kind of like died down a bit, but it's still there. Like, the rumors are still like circulating small by small. And I have one who not necessarily has been, maybe has been linked to the role like once or twice, but he's more of like an expansive reach. Like he's more of like a, if this opportunity opens up, we have to go for it, right? So I have 5 names here. I'm going to go over them one by one and see how much they match Casemiro's qualities. And the first name I have on the list is Elliot Anderson. The very obvious name, the name that has been circulating for a long period of time since Amorim, and he's a very popular name in the Premier League right now. A lot of teams are looking at him. I'm saying that Man City want him, United have wanted him for a while. These are all rumors, but he's a very popular name in the Premier League right now. He has been one of the best midfielders in the league. Like, I won't say he has been the best, obviously, but he has definitely been one of the best midfielders in the league. He has looked like a class act in that Nottingham Forest team, even in their bad run of form right now, even as they're losing games right now. Like, he still looks like a class act. Like, I feel like every time I'm watching Nottingham Forest this season, even when they're losing, like, I feel like he has looked like one of the best players on the pitch still. Like, the game that comes to my head immediately is that Man City game. I remember watching that game and thinking that all these other guys on that Nottingham Forest team right now deserve to be on the losing team. Like, they're not giving it anything this game, but this guy right here, Elliot Anderson right here, deserves to be on the winning team. This guy right here is class. This guy right here is quality. Like, the passes that he was trying out in that game, the passes that he was giving in that game, like everything about this guy just screams class. And there's a reason why a lot of teams in the Premier League right now want him. I'm sure that every team wants him, every big team wants him right now. I'm sure that anybody would be lucky to have him. And Manchester United is one of those teams that have been looking at him for a while, analyzing. But this is a different time than the Amorim regime. I feel like in that pivot would have been like perfect, like with the perfect partner next to him and everything. But I feel like this is a different time. Like we have different requirements, different standards, and everything. So how does he measure up to what Casemiro brings? When you look at Elliot Anderson and Casemiro, you're thinking, oh, what does Casemiro have that Elliot Anderson can potentially bring? And the first thing that you always think about when you think about Elliot Anderson is his passing. Like, this guy is a great passer of the ball in any phase of play. He's good at collecting the ball from the back four. He's good at progressing the ball with his passing. He's good at recycling play as well. Like, in any phase of possession, Elliot Anderson is a class act. He's probably even a better passer than Casemiro overall. Like, that's what he's known for. That's what he does. Like, Casemiro does have that ability, but this is what Elliot Anderson does. And I feel like in just so many statistics in the Premier League, progressive passes, he just ranks so high. He just ranks so high among the rest. And yeah, Elliot Anderson is a class act when it comes to being a passer. Like, he has that on lock, right? He also has the ability to get forward that Casemiro has. Obviously, he's not really like a threat from like corners, set pieces, stuff like that. Like, he's not really a threat the way Casemiro is a threat, but we're talking about like the ability to kind of like just get forward, join the attack, like, potentially give that final ball, chip in with a few goals here and there. Like, Elliot Anderson does have that, because as much as he's a six, he's also more like an all action six. Like, I think about him, I don't think about like a player like Jorginho. I think about more of like a player like Zubimendi, for example, who is like that 6/8, like that all action six. Like, yes, he does the job as a six, but at the same time, he can't go forward. At the same time, he can't chip in with goals. He is mobile, and he just like an all action midfielder, right? So I think that Elliot Anderson does have that. And then, he has that ball winning as well that Casemiro has. Like, when it comes to like ground deals, he does rank very high in the Premier League as well. He doesn't really have the same aggression that Casemiro has. He's not really as good as like, last ditch tackles. That's just not the type of player that he is. Like, he's not like a destroyer. Like, he's more of those like guys that you think about them, you think about like interceptions, you think about like just pinching the ball off players and everything, but you're not thinking about like last ditch tackles. You're not thinking about like a monster in midfield. So when you're thinking about like how they vary, I don't think that like he matches Casemiro in that aspect. And I think that in this Manchester United team right now, I think that to partner Mainu, I think that you do have to be more of like a destroyer. I think that you do have to be more of like a ball winner than a passer. You do have to be a very good passer of the ball, but I think that you do have to be a destroyer. And I don't think that Elliot Anderson is a destroyer. If anything, Elliot Anderson needs more of like a mobile destroyer next to him. Like, I'm thinking about him at Nottingham Forest. Who does he play next to? Sangari. I'm thinking about him at England. Who does he play next to? Declan Rice. These are all mobile destroyers. Like, they more move about. They're more like box to box midfielders, right? And a lot of players nowadays that fit in that box-to-box midfield role and everything more than 6 roles, So like there's a lot of them, but like when you're thinking about a mobile destroyer, like guys that like win the ball in all areas of the pitch, guys that like win the ball in their own half, win the ball in the opposition half, like high pressing stuff like that, like Declan Rice, Sangare, Kamavinga, Sadiki, all these type of players, like these are mobile destroyers. And the thing with players like Elliot Anderson, who are not necessarily like destroyers, is that they need to be partnered with mobile destroyers. And the thing with Mino is that Mino is not a mobile destroyer. So I feel like our midfield will kind of like be left like exposed in terms of like the physicality, in terms of like having that out and out like destroyer. I feel like our midfield will be left exposed, and I feel like we'll have that physicality problem that we've had over the years. Like Elliot Anderson will be a very good partner for Mino, I think, to a certain degree, in terms of like allowing Mino to kind of like push forward, because like he can handle that whole passing thing by himself and everything. So he allows Mane to push forward to a certain extent. Like Mane doesn't have to babysit him when it comes to like passing and stuff like that. But I think that when it comes to like in transition, when it comes to like playing a big team, I feel like he will struggle in terms of like just like those last ditch tackles that Casemiro brings, those blocks that Casemiro brings, that physicality that Casemiro brings. Like he doesn't really have the presence of Casemiro. Like Casemiro has that like physical presence, and he doesn't really have that presence that Casemiro brings to the team, that presence that is needed to play alongside mine. Like you think about players like Elliot Anderson, they always need that player next to them. Think about Jorginho and Kante, you think about Toni Kroos and Valverde, or Toni Kroos and Kamavinga. You just have all these examples of like, the natural passing six and then the mobile destroyer next to them. And Mino is not a mobile destroyer, so I think that there will be complications. I think that it will be a good partnership to a certain degree, but I think that there will be games where you see the flaws, and I think that there will be complications. I don't think that it works the way that we would want it to work. And I think that the same goes for the next person, which is Adam Wharton. Adam Wharton also doesn't have that physical presence in midfield. Like, he doesn't have that like dog in him. Like he doesn't have that like aggression that we need in that midfield. Like, he has the passing, he has the interceptions, he has the ground deals, stuff like that. He has the work rate, he has the all action midfielder trait and everything, but he doesn't have that aggression. Like he doesn't bring that aggression to the team, and we need that. We need someone with that aggression to partner mine with. These kind of players, they need mobile destroyers next to them. Your Adam Watsons, your Elliot Andersons, your Zubimendi's, your Jorginhos, all these guys need mobile destroyers next to them. And Mino is not a mobile destroyer now. Like I said, we're thinking about a player that can partner Mino, because Mino is going to be one of the main midfielders in the team for years to come. Mino is going to be one of the regular starters in the team for years to come. Like any manager that comes is going to see that, right? So we need to think about a player that can partner Mino in the long term. And I don't think that Elliot Anderson and Adam Watson partner him well overall. Elliot Anderson is more of like a complete midfielder than Adam Watson. I think that overall he's more of like the complete package. I think that when I'm not thinking about those physical attributes as well, I think that Elliot Anderson brings more of that to any team than Adam Watson would bring. Like Adam Watson doesn't have them to a certain degree. He does have like, a good work rate and everything, but like, Elliot Anderson has more of that, number one, but the general thing is that they don't have it as much as Casemiro. Like they don't have the aggression. That's not the type of player that they are. And nobody's saying that they should change or anything, but I'm just saying that in this Manchester United team, in this team next to Kobe Mino, in that pivot, I don't think that it works. The next player on the list is Carlos Baleba, another popular name, someone that's been linked to Manchester United for a long time. He obviously was very close to joining Manchester United, or at least very close. Like, we don't know what was going on behind the scenes and everything, but, he had like a tough start to the season after that, like, after the move didn't work out and everything. But I think he has kind of like grown into the season. I think that he's actually looked better in recent games. I think that, like, at the AFCON as well, he looked decent. I think that he has been better since like that start of the season. He had like a very rough start of the season, but since then he has been decent. And yeah, Baleba is a very good player. He's a player that's been linked with Manchester United for some time now. And when you're looking at him compared to Casemiro, what does he have that Casemiro has? What does he bring that Casemiro brings, right? Like, first thing you're looking at is his passing ability, right? And Baleba is a decent passer, right? But I don't think that he's as composed on the board as we need him to be. I feel like sometimes when I watch Baleba play, I feel like he kind of like panics under pressure, which is something that other teams can kind of like exploit. I feel like, he just like sometimes he just like decides to like kick the ball anywhere. Like it's kind of crazy. Like if you watch Baleba on a constant basis, like you see what I'm saying. Like sometimes he just decides to like kick the ball anywhere. Like it's kind of crazy that he does that. He does have that like swagger on the ball. So it's so crazy when like he's getting pressed and he just has to like kick the ball anywhere. Like he does that quite often actually. Like if you watch him, you see what I mean. He does that quite often. So it's something that like you have to like watch out for if you're signing Baleba. It's something you have to work on, maybe work on his composure and everything. In terms of being a ball winner as well, he's a very good ball winner. He has those last ditch tackles, he has that that aggression in midfield and everything. He does have like more of those qualities than the Elliot Andersons and Adam Watsons and everything. Like, he is more of like a destroyer, but if anything, I'll say that he's more of like a mobile destroyer. Those players that partner your Adam Watson, those players that partner your Elliot Anderson. Like, if you sign Elliot Anderson, if you sign Adam Watson, you sign Baleba to partner them, right? So you're not thinking like, if those are the type of people that you partner him with, like, how is he going to fit with Mino? Because Mino isn't like his six. Mino isn't like an Elliot Anderson or Adam Watson type. Mino is also like a roamer. Mino is a ball carrier. He's not like, a ball passer, like progressive passer and everything. Like, he has that in his locker, but that's not what he is. So, like, how is he going to partner Baleba, right? Because Baleba does have a lot of qualities that we need. Like, he does have a physical presence more than Elliot Anderson and Adam Watson, but he doesn't have it to the degree of Casemiro. And, he also kind of lacks that discipline to a certain degree as well. I feel like sometimes when I watch him, I feel like he's caught out of position. I feel like mine will be left having to babysit Baleba to a certain degree in terms of like, his lack of discipline, and in terms of his lack of composure on the ball. I feel like mine will be left to babysit. And I want someone that can like, allow Mane to kind of like express himself, allow Mane to like get forward as much as he wants and can cover all that ground and everything. Baleba does have like, the legs and the agility to be able to cover all that ground. But, he doesn't have that like physical presence that Casemiro has that just makes you feel comfortable when a player like Mino goes forward, when Bruno is doing his thing up front. Like, I want a player that allows Mino to express himself, right? And I don't think that Baleba would allow Mino to express himself to the fullest degree. Like I said, he's more of like, that mobile destroyer. He's more like, have Elliot Anderson sitting at the back and allow Baleba to kind of like do his thing. So you're thinking about that next to Mino, you're thinking like, does that really work and everything? I think that out of him, Elliot Anderson and Adam Watson, I think that he works best with Mino out of the three that I just mentioned. Like, I think that he does have more of that physical presence in midfield. He has more of that aggression, tackling and everything. But in general, like, he doesn't really have what it takes. Like, he doesn't really have the physical presence that we need to be able to allow Mino to kind of like do his thing, right? Looking at the next option, like, this is the most realistic option. This is the guy that I'm thinking like, oh, like, this is like, if we're getting anybody soon, if we're getting anybody in the near future to replace Casemiro, this is the guy. And that name is João Gomez. His name has kind of like been circled around a bit. Like, I don't think the rumors are as much as they were before, but his name has been circled around a bit. But yeah, João Gomez is a very good option. Number one thing that we have to think about is his price. Wolves are probably going to get relegated this season, that definitely gets relegated this season. If they do get relegated, I think he's available for like 35 million, which is a very good price for him. I think that Joao Gomez is a very, very, very good midfielder. I feel like he has improved every single season that he has been in the Premier League. I think he joined in like the 23-24 season or 22-23 season. I can't remember clearly, but I know that like every single season that he has been there, he has kind of like improved. He has kind of like added things to his game. He has kind of like upped his game and everything. I feel like out of all the guys that I've mentioned, I think that he measures up to Casemiro the best. I feel like, in terms of like, his ball winning, his last ditch tackles, also his ability to get forward and everything. He does that whole switching thing with Andre. Like, he has that presence in midfield. He has that aggression. Like, I feel like in all those traits, he has it more than Baleba, Watson, and Elliot Anderson, right? But when I'm not thinking about him, I think about like his passing ability as well. And I don't think that he's that good of a passer. Like, I think he's a decent passer of the ball. Like, I think in terms of like, switching wing and everything, those crossfield passes, I think that he does have that to a certain degree. But in general, I don't think that he's that good of a passer of the ball. I think he's more of like a ball carrier than like, a passer and everything. Like I said, I don't want Mino to have to like babysit anybody. And Mino is also like a ball carrier. Like, how does that work? Having two ball carriers in that pivot and everything, like, you do need that passer. Like, you always need like your Elliot Anderson types and everything. When you have players like João Gomez in your team, like, you always need your Elliot Anderson types. And João Gomez, you like, he's measuring not to be like more of like that box to box midfielder. I'll say that in general, like, he's measuring up to be like that all action midfielder that Casemiro is showing us that he can be, right? Like, in terms of like getting forward, like, he does get very involved in Wolves attack and everything. Like, I think he does that whole switching thing with Andre, where, at this point he's like, the DM and Andre is like the CM, and then at this point he's the CM and Andre is like the DM. I think that more time, João Gomez is the guy getting forward and Andre is like the DM and everything. So he does have that all action thing, like, being able to like go forward, win the ball, press high and everything, and also come back when the ball in his own half and stuff like that. So I think that he does have that ability, right, that Casemiro has. He does have the legs to be able to cover all that ground and everything. He does have that physical presence in midfield. I think that he has a lot of traits that we need. But when you're looking at his passing, I just think that he doesn't have it to that degree that we need. Like signing him will kind of like be a project. You know, he is young. Would we get him for a good price and everything? So it's not a question of like, are we willing to like do that project? Are we willing to like get this guy that we know doesn't have this particular trait, right? Like, are we willing to work on that with him? Or do we just want to get the final product? Like before you sign Joao Gomez, that's what you have to think about. Because like I said, he doesn't have exactly what we need to be able to partner Manu properly, but you know, he does have the qualities to a certain degree, right? And the last player I'm thinking about, like, you know, this one is more of like an expansive option. This one is more of like, you know, F around and find out option, like, you know, is Tchouaméni. Like this one is more of like it's like a wild card. It's probably not going to happen, but if that opportunity even opens up just a bit, you have to go for it, because I feel like Tchouaméni would be the perfect, like he would be so perfect in this Manchester United midfield that is crazy. Like he would be so perfect. Like, you know, he's exactly what we're looking for. When you're thinking about how he measures up to Casemiro, like, you don't even have to start listing all those qualities, because he was literally the replacement for Casemiro at Real Madrid. Like, you know, he was literally the guy to replace Casemiro. When you're thinking about those qualities listed, like, you know, he's a good passer, ball winner, last ditch tackles, ability to get forward, presence, aggression, everything that we're looking for, he has that, right? But you're thinking like, wow, like Tchouaméni is at Real Madrid. Why would he leave Real Madrid? Why would he come to Manchester United and everything? As a Real Madrid fan, I can tell you that Tchouaméni's place in the team has never really been secured since he joined. I feel like Tchouaméni hasn't really been able to like achieve his full potential, because at this moment in time right now, we're supposed to be talking about Tchouaméni as the best DM in the world. Not maybe the best DM in the world. Tchouaméni should be clear in terms of like, you know, his ceiling, in terms of like, you know, what he was at Monaco, in terms of what was projected to be at this moment in time. Tchouaméni should already be the best DM in the world. And you know, at some point in the season, he was looking like one of the best DMs in the world. I was saying that he was the best DM in the world. So at some point in the season, he was actually looking like that. But like, you know, that's kind of like regressed in terms of like him having to like play CBA game. This has just been the story for him at Real Madrid. Like, you know, always having to play out of position, always having to play CB. I feel like at Real Madrid, he has been more needed as a CB than as like, you know, a DM, which is kind of sad for him, because you know, he hasn't been able to progress in DM the way that he would have liked. He hasn't been able to play that position as much as he would have liked, right? Like, you know, you think about us in that like diamond shape when it was like Cruz, Valverde, Camavinga, and Bellingham, right? Like, you know, you think about Tchouaméni and he doesn't really fit that diamond. So, like, you know, he did play next to Cruz, right? Like, you know, he did play a lot that season, but you're thinking about it, I think like Valverde did fit more that time. And after that, you know, he did become more of like a starter in the team and everything. But at the same time, like you needed him more as a CB in that 24-25 season. Had a lot of players injured and everything. And you know, this season as well, he started really well. I think that for the most part, he was one of the best players in the team. But like nowadays, like it's like, oh, everybody's injured, so now he has to play CB again. And it's just like this has kind of like been the story with Tchouaméni, right? Like, you know, never getting to play in his best position as much as he would like, right? So like this has been the story with him. And the reason why I say he can potentially be open is just because like I feel like two things. Number one, Real Madrid is going to have to end up selling one or two of their midfielders. You know, they're looking to sign Nico Paz, and I don't think that is necessarily the attacking midfielders that are going to be sold. Maybe Adagola can be loaned out or something like that. No, that's the story from that day. That's the story for a Real Madrid episode. But I think that potentially like one or two midfielders are going to be sold, and I don't think that Tchouaméni's place in the team is as safe as you know you might think it is. I think that his place in the team is safe. I think that there's a low chance that he does leave Real Madrid. I think there's a low chance that they list him in the market, but I think that there is a chance, and that small chance that there might be, I think that Manchester United really need to like have that eye on that and really need to like just like watch out for that. Like if Madrid even said that Tchouaméni is even a little bit free, I feel like Manchester United need to go all in for that. I feel like when you're thinking about like the perfect partner for mine, when you're thinking about like the perfect DM for years to come, you are thinking about Tchouaméni. He has all the qualities that we need. He was literally the replacement for Casemiro at Real Madrid. You can even see that in terms of like, general ability, like I feel like he has a higher ceiling than Casemiro in terms of like, general ability, but he hasn't been able to achieve that ceiling at Real Madrid. And at some point, Real Madrid may look to cash in. I think that if they look to cash in, I feel like Manchester United need to be all over that. Like, it would be a bit of an expensive deal, like, maybe 80, 85, 90 million, something like that. But I feel like it would be worth the investment. Trust me, it would be worth the investment. This guy has everything that we need. He's the right age. He has played for Real Madrid, Champions League winner at Real Madrid. Like, we're talking about not being able to replace Casemiro's intangible qualities, right? Like, he has gotten some of those intangible qualities, maybe not in the level of Casemiro, but he has some of those intangible qualities that he can now bring to Manchester United. He's a winner, he's playing for a winning team. So I do think that, he'll be a perfect option for Manchester United. And I think that we can really, really, really consider it. Like I said, there's a low chance that this happens. There's a low chance that he does end up leaving Real Madrid. But I feel like even for the slightest possibility that that can happen, I feel like Manchester United need to be eyes open for that. I feel like if that does happen, we need to tap into our relationship with Real Madrid. And I think that we need to make that shit happen before the likes of Liverpool or any other team think about making it happen. I feel like we need to make that shit happen. But yeah, Tchouaméni is like an expensive option. It probably wouldn't happen, but it can happen. And if it does happen, like I said, Manchester United, I need you guys to be all on that. I need you guys to be all on that. But yeah, these are the 5 names that I have at the moment. Like, some of them expansive, some of them expensive, and we just have to wait and see who we end up signing. But in my opinion, obviously, like I said, if Tchouaméni does open up, then we go for Tchouaméni, we go all in for Tchouaméni. But out of the 4 more realistic options, I think that João Gomez does fit the best to replace Casemiro. But let me know what you guys think. Let me know who you think would be the best option to replace Casemiro, whether it's a youngster or an up and coming talent or someone that's already established that I didn't list. Let me know in the comments. But with that comes the end of this episode. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I hope to see you guys again next time.